Ever felt gut punched and wondered if it's intuition or unresolved trauma? Join us as we welcome Diane Seamark, Somatic Yoga Therapist and author of Gut Punch. Is it trauma or intuition? Diane shares how to distinguish between genuine inner wisdom and learned survival patterns. Discover powerful methods like somatic experiencing and yoga therapy to rewire your nervous system, establishing healthy boundaries, and heal from past pain and childhood wounds. Learn to move beyond mere survival towards a life truly guided by clear intuition and a deep sense of safety. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show, where you're about to go on a wellness driven ride. Let me share with you a little bit more about the incredible guests that we have with us today. Diane Seamark is the co-owner of Sadohano Dojo, a somatic yoga therapist and a jiu-jitsu black belt with over 25 years of experience in Budo and healing arts. She is the author of Gut Punch, Is It Trauma or Intuition?, where she guides individuals to distinguish between intuitive signals and trauma responses, rewire their nervous system, and cultivate a life led by inner wisdom. I am so pleased to welcome to our stage today, Diane. Welcome, Diane, to the Wellness Driven Life Show.
Thank you, April. I'm so excited to be here.
It's such an honor to have you. I know that you're doing great things. I mean, it's incredible, all of the things that you've done based on your wisdom that you've gained through life experiences, right? You've got an incredible, well-established brick and mortar going on. And now you have also written a book that helps reach so many people across the world. So let's get started by sharing a little bit more about you so the audience can get to know you more.
Absolutely. So I was a nurse practitioner in my early 20s, and I realized that it was a bit too overwhelming for me. The politics, the people I worked with, the mentality, it just seemed like a vibration that wasn't really landing for me. I was raised by these blue collar workers who ingrained in me I had to have a stable job, I had to have a pension. That was my road to success. So I followed along and did all the things, and with the political nature of it and the mentality of the women and men that I worked with, I realized it actually frightened me. It scared me to hear that people thought they were going to end up in the hospital. That was their end of life plan. That's where they were going to go. And I thought,
Yeah.
like, you don't actually think you're going to end up here. Like, this isn't. And they're like, well, yeah, of course. And so I remember I just told my dad the story just last weekend, and I actually got goosebumps because I remember the day it happened. I worked in a psychogeriatric unit. It was a locked unit. Everybody had cognitive impairment, and they ranged from mid-30s all the way up to 90s. And we used to have a movie night. And so we were getting set up for the movie night, and my coworker, Debbie, had said, when I'm here and it's movie time, don't give me cheesies. And it just honestly rocked me, April, because I was like, what do you mean when you're here? Like, what are you talking about? So I took a leave of absence and I went to Mexico and I started doing yoga on the beach. And in that moment during that trip, I just thought, I want to still be in healthcare. I still want to help people heal. I'm just going to do it in an environment that I can completely control.
Out of that story, it brings back many, many circumstances within my own life. My mom has worked within geriatrics for, my whole life.
Yeah.
And so she too has always said, never, never, I don't ever want to be here. And opposite of what you've experienced, right? Where people are like just expecting that that's the nature and that's how everything works, right?
Yeah.
Although my family really took on responsibility of caring for our elderly within the family. So we took care of
Beautiful.
my grandmother, and it's not easy by
No,
any means, but because of my mom's experience within that field, was she just didn't want to go there. She
yeah,
wanted us to be cared for in a different way, in a different light. And so it's very intriguing that that is the direction that you went, because you didn't fall into that normality or what you thought was going to be your future
that's
self,
it. Yeah,
and you wanted to recreate. That was your shake up moment of like, oh my gosh, absolutely not. That there's so much more that we can do to not have that as a
that's it.
possibility.
Yeah, you got it. I think, we've come so far as a collective, understanding healing, understanding neuroplasticity, our biology, our bodies, metacognition. We used to think like, well, it's genetic. It's genetic. You're going to inherit it. Full stop. And that's not a true story, right? Like that, we are always in control of our biology. We are always in control of our state. And I say this as somebody, I am not an ableist. I have 3 different autoimmune issues. I've suffered intense injury. I walk my talk. So I know it can sound a little woo woo or a little out there what I'm saying, but I believe it to be true. And I know it's backed up by many, many acclaimed scientists. We've got Joe Dispenza, we've got Bruce Lipton, we've got Pete Walker, Iron Lyons. I mean,
The
it's in
list goes on.
right. Yeah. So our minds can change our bodies can change our minds, and our behavior changes as a result. And
1000%.
yeah, so I met my husband shortly thereafter, and I always kind of chuckle because I say, "Oh, I knew he wanted to get with me," because the line he used was, "Oh, you do yoga? I do jujitsu. They're a lot alike." And I thought, "What is this guy talking about? Like, there's no way they're alike." And
But they are.
they totally, totally are.
Mhm.
In fact, I'd go I mean, yoga is like my bestie. She's my best friend. I do it every day. It's how I calm down, soothe my system, keep my lymph moving, keep my body hydrated. But I'm by myself when I do yoga. It's just me, myself, and I on the mat. Whereas jujitsu, I am in front of somebody. I have to navigate real time, real life power dynamics where we're simulating a fight scenario, an attacker and a defender, and I have to be present. And so I always say, a well established trauma informed jujitsu school is a fast track to meditation because your presence of mind has to be on point. I can't be somewhere else thinking about something else, which I can when I'm doing yoga. I can be down dog, doing my grocery list, figuring some stuff out. I cannot do that when there is somebody about to choke me or throw a punch at my face.
Right. I have a law enforcement background, and a great saying to remember is that you don't rise to the level of your courage, you fall to the level of your training. And the
Mm,
training needs exactly that, your full attention, your present. eh, And in order to really pick it up and continue those moves over and over and over. So you do it without thinking, right? And
mhm.
that goes back to that saying, you don't rise to the level of your courage, you fall to the level of your training.
I love that. That is beautiful. And that is why I'm so passionate about teaching women self defense
Yeah.
alongside self care. For me, they're the two sides of the same coin. You
Mm.
can be as indulgent as you like with self-care practices and isolation techniques and calming yourself down, but as soon as you're met with any kind of conflict or resistance, like
Real
you
world
said,
situations.
real world situations, difficult,
Right.
you're going to default to your level of training. So if you
Hmm.
haven't trained in personal protection strategies, boundaries, values, awareness, avoidance, attitude, that's when things go awry. And that's where that weekend of reading and self-care goes out the window, because all of a sudden you're like, I don't know how to say no to this person. I
Yeah.
don't know how to decline this invitation. Oh no.
Diane, you and I are absolutely from the same thread. I get shivers because it's like it's the emergence of safety and that awareness combined with overall wellness, because it creates the wellness. It creates that safety in order to relax enough, because you know that you've got any situation that comes your way. And it's this beautiful dance of all of those things intertwining together. And people don't think about it that way. And it goes so far as to every little thing in your life, from driving to picking where you want to live in the world.
Yes.
You know, the things you put in, on, and around your body. I mean, you could put it in any sort of circumstance that is happening around you in the physical world, right?
Yeah, you got it. And so I'm kind of on a low-key mission to re-educate what self-defense is. It is not about fighting. Combatives is about fighting. Self-defense is a mindset. Self-defense is protection principles and foundational practices that you can implement when you have the flu and you have to go do the grocery run, or you have to host that birthday party, or you have to navigate a career move and ask for a raise. Personal protection is making sure that you, yourself, and I are a priority, are safe, are being taken care of and considered and respected in every walk of life. So in my book, I created the PEMS hygiene system, which is a multi-directional approach to this, because healing is never one-dimensional. There's never one punch that's going to dissuade every attacker. You know this. There's not one move that's going to solve every perpetrator. There's not one biohack that's going to elevate and heal all your trauma. It has to be a multi-pronged, multi-directional approach. So my PEMS hygiene is a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual toolkit, so that every day, just like you do hygiene for your house, your face, your teeth, you clean, you wash, you tidy, I want you to do the same for your person, so that you're more prepared.
Yeah. I love that. It's beautiful. We're definitely on the same page. And thank you so much for sharing that. I'm very excited to hear more about this book. So, what was it that really brought you to create some aspects in writing? And what brought you along this journey of really wanting to share all of these insights with others?
Yeah, thank you. It mostly came from me rediscovering my voice. I've always journaled. I've always, I've always struggled with self-expression, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I had a crappy childhood. Boundaries were hammered out of me from a very young age. I wasn't taught how to express myself, or that it was even safe to do so. So when I started training in martial arts, I found that I had all of these emotions. I would get terribly dysregulated, and I didn't even know I was getting dysregulated. I just thought, maybe I'm kind of a low-key bitch. Like, I have this high emotionality afterwards. I'm impatient, I'm kind of rageful, I'm kind of aggressive. I don't have time for anything. And I honestly thought that's just me, until I found nervous system healing and went, "Oh baby, you're just in a heightened survival response. Like, you haven't ratcheted down. You're just in a fight mode. You're in a flight mode."
Mm.
And and then of course, predominantly martial arts has mostly men in the room. And I'm very fortunate I train with beautiful, safe men. But these feelings still come up. And so I thought, I can't be the only one that is getting activated on this mat. Like, other people must be feeling this background noise. And that's what kind of led me to wanting to write about it.
We as women and men all of us as human beings, let's just say it that way, have so many generations of understanding the world and how we respond to that. And we respond without understanding why we do so. And it's because of all of those generations and what they have faced and how they have had to survive, et cetera, et cetera. And the role that men and women have played is sometimes some of it is really wonderful and some of it is not so
Yeah.
wonderful or healthy, right? And so we have that ingrained in ourselves. And so I appreciate that you brought up the really finding your voice. I think many of us, including men, have that issue because we don't know how to show up in the world. We are so confused on
Yes.
how we're supposed to show up because the times are changing so incredibly rapidly. And
Yeah.
so men are confused, like, well, am I supposed to be this primary role or am I supposed to be this or that? And women are like the same thing, right? We don't know
100%.
where we're supposed to land and where the balance is so we could just be us.
You got it. You got it. And so that I came up with the term somatic sludge to talk about that pervasive ickiness that I would feel. And because I was always so confused, I would get it after a yoga retreat. I would get it after my jujitsu. And I would be like this somatic sludge, just this pervasive, I feel everything. And it's because the way we're wired, right? Our autonomic nervous system has all of this data that's preloaded since we came out of the womb, since pre-verbal. And that gets handed down through the generational timeline. Like generational trauma is passed on. Our own trauma will develop. And it's not like the big T or little t trauma. It's as simple as not having our core needs met or satiated when we were little. Crying in the crib, not getting soothed right away, not getting connection, trust, attunement, autonomy. No matter how well-meaning every parent is in the world, we all are going to make a mistake. We're all going to not rise to that occasion immediately and be able to fulfill a need. And so this all feeds into who we are as people. And until you look at what your autonomic nervous system has logged as a default, so just like a phone comes out of the box, it has a default screen, it has default font, it has a default browser. And until I go in and put my preferences and my pretty picture of, who do I have up here? I've got Judy Halliday. She's from a fantastic movie called Born Yesterday. I love old movies. But until I put my preferences in that phone, in that computer, it runs on default, just like our bodies, just like our nervous system. Until I introduce the concept that I could survive and thrive in the world in a career that didn't have a pension, which is what I was taught and was ingrained, I only knew that that was my only option. So when we talk about neuroplasticity, it is literally being able to influence your thoughts, change how you think, introduce a concept that you've never really thought about before, and then also titrate your nervous system to be able to allow that thought to stay there without throwing you into a survival response, right? So you can anticipate change without it freaking you out. You can anticipate change with going, okay, well, I'm a little bit freaked out, but I'm mostly okay. That's the healing, right?
Having that understanding that is huge because you know exactly what is happening to your body. It's just like trauma. If you can catch it and you don't have it replay in your mind over and over and over, you catch it before it becomes a trauma. And the awareness and all the tools that we have nowadays is certainly incredible for us to really rise and be better as a human being. And I think that all of us are striving to do so. Thank you so much, Diane, for sharing that. It really has brought a full out picture of why you've done what you've done and I love the explanation of the cell phone and the downloads and being able to change that the way that we want to, right? And so
Awesome.
we're going to move into our first commercial. And when we get back, I would love to know more about Mary's granddaughter. So
Okay.
stay tuned. Are you ready to take control of your ride to wellness? Rev up with Driven Living. Visit www.drivenliving.com and buckle up for a journey. Get exclusive access to our Wellness Driven Life Show guest portal, where you can dive deep into the minds of our esteemed guests. Sign up for our newsletter and get insider scoops on these distinguished personalities. It's like having a backstage pass to their life-changing wisdom. But that's not all. You'll also receive a free hug. You heard me right, a free hug. An enlightening ebook from the Driven Living team. Discover the science-backed benefits of hugging yourself. It's a fill-up for your wellness tank. Because at Driven Living, we believe in fueling your journey to wellness, both physically and psychologically. So what are you waiting for? Visit www.drivenliving.com today. Welcome back, everyone. Here with the beautiful Diane Seamark, author of Gut Punch. And by the way, and I mentioned this to you before, nobody else got to hear it except for you and I, but that title is rockin'. I love the title. There's many, many books out there. Most of the people that we interview on the show have a book of some sort. We have books. Everybody has a book, right? But coming up with a title that is so gut punching is unique. And I love that. So let's talk a little bit about how you came up with that. But I also want to draw in the Mary's granddaughter. And what is that? Where did that come from? Is that part of that sludge that you speak of?
So I have to give credit to my husband for coming up with Gut Punch, because we were sitting around the table one day and I was talking about this somatic sludge that always takes me by surprise and how I just get hit with it and I have to work it out. And he just said, Gut Punch. And I was like, that's it. That's my title. And then it was great because I had a bunch of working, subtext and subtitles off of it. But once we came on Gut Punch, I couldn't move away from it because hopefully not everybody's ever experienced a gut punch, literally, which is a physical blow to the stomach, which takes the wind out of you. But if you have big brothers or big cousins and, you used to play and they would tackle you and take you to the ground, or you fall off a swing, those can elicit that gut punch, right? But it's also a figurative thing of when somebody lets you down or out and out betrays you, and treats you badly. You receive a gut punch. That friend that you just heard talking smack about you and your family can take your breath away, can make you buckle your knees and be like, I can't believe that they did that. And that will feed into that autonomic nervous system. If I get a hit or hear something, all of a sudden that train's left the station and I'm already responding to every past input that I've had around betrayal or trust. And that's going to affect everything. So I think if we can, think about it in how can we live our life so that we can protect ourselves from these gut punches, whether they be figurative or physical, the better off we can be. So that's the title of my book. And that's how it came about. Yeah.
It's very, very cool. And I hope that some of our viewers have not really truly experienced a physical gut punch, because it definitely doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
But at the same time, that's exactly what it is, right? This is an experience, this emotional feeling of so profoundly moving that it is just that, right? And the things that we don't necessarily feel physically, but we are feeling it physically, just in that different way of the emotions and the rawness and those feelings. So what does grandmother have to do with all that?
So I was very blessed to have been partly raised by my grandmother, and she was my North Star. She
Mhm.
was just one of those brands of women you don't see often. She was an artist, she was accomplished, she was a musician, she had 12 kids. She believed in a well set table. You couldn't have a plastic container. Everything had to be just so. And it was my grandmother's steadying influence that really gave me a solid touchstone. Um, she told me to never settle. My mom, unfortunately, made very bad choices in her life with her husbands. And my grandmother was always there to just tell me, don't ever settle. You don't ever put up with mistreatment. And her strength and her grace was something that I just deeply, deeply admired. So that's the main motivation. I'm also incredibly spiritual, and I believe in Christ consciousness. And so I do believe in whatever you are called to, whatever you call it. If Gus is where you go with it, which is God, universe, spirit, that's fine. But I do believe in the divine feminine, and I believe that we can all be Mary's granddaughters, because I believe in generational healing. And it is my connection to source and Christ consciousness that gave me such profound healing. Because even though I suffered from neglect and abandonment and abuse, I was always the wanted daughter of Christ. And that is very powerful for me. And I don't mean that in a religious sense, I mean that in a very spiritual, um, full embodied sense. So don't get freaked out for those of you. I myself was scared of the word God for decades. Okay. So I get it if that gives you a little bit of a, I don't know about that one. Um, but Mary's granddaughters just means that we're all welcome. There's a place for all of us, and that the divine feminine needs to be heard, needs to be voiced, needs to be celebrated.
Ah, beautiful. And couldn't agree more. Your your example of being freaked out and feeling a certain way towards words is something we all have. And again, going back to that, who knows why, or society kind of shifted us in that direction of thought and feeling of hesitance or acceptance of certain words, right?
Mm.
And culturally, it's completely different in all different cultures and backgrounds, and just because that's how it is in those societies. And your feeling with the word God is similar to my feeling revolving around feminism, which is so
Mm,
odd, right? Like, as a woman, I should be very supportive towards that. And it's always been the opposite, where I felt like it was extremist. And
absolutely.
it was too extreme, or this and that. And so I've always wanted to veer away from anything that has to be an extreme in some form or fashion, and going back to that, how do we find balance in certain things? But further research in anything, I would suggest, really shines light on why it is that people feel that way, or why it is that there is a movement in one thing or another, including religions and thought patterns and all of those somatics. So
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I share that. I actually jokingly refer to myself as a recovered feminist, um, because I feel like the word has been highly politicized and no longer means equality and empowerment the way that it perhaps was originally meant to. And it's not confusing to me why I bristle to God. I had a lot of religion growing up and indoctrination. And I believe that religion can be incredibly indoctrinating, and there can be really hard, steady beliefs passed on that don't actually give women a lot of room. And so
right.
it can feel very confining, and it can actually feel very disempowering. And so I know what my journey's been to reclaim what a true Christ consciousness feels like, and what love for divine lands, how that feels. And I just encourage people, if, when they're hearing this or watching this and they get a hit from this, maybe just take some time and walk it down the way that I have, and I'm sure you have as well, April. And that's why Gus is so
Absolutely.
fun, right? Gus is God, universe, spirit. Just call it Gus. you know?
Get it all in. Yeah, absolutely. And universe should be all encompassing, right? Like the infinite aspects of things. And so somebody like you, and including me, the ones who have been bold enough to share their experiences and their light with others, with the world, is so motivating and inspiring to others, our listeners here, you listening in. When we come to those certain understandings and those raw experiences and profound ahas, you are there's that spark within you that drives you to want to shout it out from the rooftops and share it in whatever way that may be. It doesn't have to be a book or a show. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It could be through art, it could be through dance, it could be through movement, it could be through your daily interactions
Yeah,
with the people that are right in front of you. And nothing is too big or too small.
no,
And I think that that's where we get in the way of feeling like, well, it's not enough, or it's just little old me, right? But
absolutely.
the more that we change ourselves and heal ourselves, and that's truly what sparks the right sort of frequencies that emanate from us to change those around us.
Yes, that's it. Because, going back to biology, nerves that fire together wire together. And that is applicable in our social circles, right? That's if you look at a piece of rotten fruit that's in that bowl, that mold is going to spread and infect everybody else. But the same, is true when you've got that light source, that positive person. You've got a row of candles and only one light, and it will whoosh, light up everybody else. So the inverse is absolutely true. So I believe, I'm a proud Gen X woman, and the women in my family all taught martyrdom as a virtue, self abandonment as a virtue. And I had to learn that contentment doesn't have to be earned, safety is a right, and movement is medicine. So
Mm.
I put out the good china. I wear the linen dress. I light the fancy candles. I celebrate in all of the ways that I need to on any given day. And that's how any of our listeners can start, is just by, you know, write in that pretty journal that you've been waiting to but are too afraid because it's just too darn pretty. Open it up, write in it, draw in it, make a heart, light the candle, put the good linen on the table, use the napkins. You know, really just celebrate that you are beautiful and unique and needed in this world, and you do not have to dull yourself for anybody.
Ah, Diane, that brings me so much joy. There is a way to merge tradition along with our future incredible creations that we're doing now, our new traditions and all of those things. There is so much good without all of those things, and we get to pick and choose and create a life exactly how we want it. And there is a lot of pride in those traditions of presentation and
Yes.
setting the table beautifully. There's a lot of cultures that really have that essence of themselves, and it's incredible, and I love it. And so thank you for sharing that. And I invite everyone to rewind and listen to her all over again and what she said, because it really was worth listening to a few times and writing it down and
Mm.
taking that in. Put a sticky note on your glass mirror there. You got a lot of wisdom, and I really appreciate the way that you explain things like the fruit and those sort of aspects to have a better understanding. And again, that goes to that awareness and understanding of things, and how when we know what's happening to us and our bodies and why we respond the way we do, it's so much easier to put a pin in whatever's happening around us, the chaos, and be like, I remember this. And so because
Yes.
of that, I
Yes.
choose to respond differently or this way and see what
Yes.
happens. So you've been an incredible guest on the show. I want to make sure that everyone knows where to find you. So we've had here displayed on the screen, trickled in throughout the show for those of you viewing. And for those of you listening in, marysgranddaughter.com. Easy peasy. Check out what all she's creating. Do you have a link within that website that goes to your brick and mortar, your school, all of those martial arts aspects?
I do. Yeah. I have a link that goes to our trauma-informed jiu-jitsu, where we do Kokodo jiu-jitsu and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I know I didn't really touch on too much of my self-defense or my jiu-jitsu side, but it is a huge part of my life and my teachings and my practice. And I do want to celebrate that this year in 2025, I became the second woman in the world to hold the title of Kogyoku Kaiden Shihan. There's only 2 in the world, and I'm one
Oh
of them.
my gosh, that's
So
amazing.
thank you. I feel really I feel really stoked and just like so honored that I have this that I can share with people. And I really want people to understand that um, healing is not a straight shot. And so even for myself, you're going to get traction, you're going to be doing well, you're going to be popping off, you're going to be hitting your goals. And then a little wrinkle is going to happen. And it could be the most innocuous thing. And you will take 10 steps backward. And you will have all these feelings, emotions, thought patterns that you thought you eradicated, you got rid of. You haven't failed if that happens. You need to anticipate that happening. We all go through life with expansion and contraction cycles, and you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. If you're having one of those contraction cycles, I just encourage you to always have so much self-love and self-compassion and know that you got this far and you're going to go farther still. And it's okay if you just muck it all up for a little bit, because you're going to get it back on track. And the biggest, thing is not to beat yourself up over that as you're going through it. It's not a straight line, it's multi-directional, and you have to have a lot of compassion for yourself and anticipate setbacks. It's like just anticipate them, and maybe the sting won't be as much.
It's 1,000% anticipate it, because you absolutely will have more things come up. Our subconscious mind harnesses a lot of information, and
Yes.
the tiniest sound or smell or
That's it.
whatever. I mean, there's a
Yes.
million different things that sends us a memory and a
Yes.
feeling with that memory. And it's going to be like, whoa, oh, I didn't want to feel
Yeah.
that way. I was doing fine. What happened here? And it's like that split second, right?
Yeah.
So anticipate that will happen, because that is just life.
That's it.
Again, Diane Seamark, you have been an incredible guest on the Wellness Driven Life Show. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, April. I love talking to you, and let's do it again when you get settled in your new adventures.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And I think we could talk a lot more about only 2 women worldwide who have accomplished. That's incredible. And congratulations.
Thank you.
So again, thank you so much for honoring us with your time today. And I want to thank our audience for honoring us with their time today, because without you, the show wouldn't be possible. So goodbye for now, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.